Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have two visitors this morning um, on February 6, 1980, no, 2018, a few days after the end of the Wind Games 2018. Niklas Hemlin, Speed member, and I'm very proud to present Michelle Karamon of the ranch, second generation. How are you guys?
Good.
Good, really good.
How was your trip to Spain and back? When did you come back?
Well, I arrived back on Sunday. My flight was canceled through Chicago back home to Phoenix, so I just decided to stay a couple of days in New York with Michelle, and it worked out really well. So,
Good to be back.
yeah.
Was it warmer in Spain?
Yeah, it was really nice. It was mid-50s, blue skies. It was very nice there. So most of our tunnel time, training time was in the morning. So we went, trained, and then we actually got to enjoy the surrounding areas in Puerto Brava quite a bit. It's very nice over there.
Nice. And Michelle, you were probably up all night last weekend, or did you watch it live?
Yeah, I tried to wake up early to watch the last two rounds of each day because I think it would have been 3 a.m. New York time on Friday and Saturday from last week.
Yeah.
And you did not get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch it?
I caught up when I woke up.
What did you see? You were watching, yes, you were watching whatever you could see, but what did you have to tell Niklas when he came back about USPA? I mean, you're an expert. Come on, you're the USPA advanced class champion now in AAA competition. You're going open class next year. You had something to say, right? So what did you see?
Yeah, well, I think for me, I had gone to the Montreal competition and I sat and watched it live, which was just incredible, and it was very intense. And when they got to the jump off, I was just in a panic, and it was just a lot of emotions going on. So for me, seeing them there at their first international meet with this lineup and then watching how they performed in Spain, I was just so proud of all of them and so happy with the improvements that they've made in just, I think it's been only 2 or 3 months since the last time that they've competed. And it's just, they're such a strong team, and I was just so proud and happy for all of them and how they performed.
In Montreal, did Niklas speak to you actually when they were ready to get to the jump fly off? Or?
Yeah, I think he was the only one that was super excited on the team. Yeah. He was really excited about it, and their cameraman David French was there also, so it was him and I sitting on the sidelines cheering.
Yeah, he's done it a few times, Nick. So it wasn't nothing. I mean, it was just a walk in the park, the jump off there in Montreal, or how did it feel?
I mean, I've been there in those kind of situations many times, you know, so it's always nerve-wracking, but I've learned to appreciate those kind of moments, you know, and it's always very exciting. And it's, I mean, any kind of competition you go to, any round, you always want to do your best, but in a jump-off, the whole competition is surrounded, you know, the wind tunnel, you're like a fish in a fishbowl, and everyone wants to see what's going on, and it's quite exciting. But hey, there's no other place I'd rather be than in a jump off with another team.
So. That's the right way to look at it. Cool. Well, let's talk about Spain Wind Games.
Yeah.
What comes out of it for you? I mean, it was obviously exciting. It was. There were many different angles. On one side, you were 16 points behind Hayabusa. On the other side, you finished with the highest airspeed average in history in a regular 10-round meet, if I have that correctly.
Yeah, well, the only other meet airspeed did better at was the Singapore meet in 2012. We did a 33 average. But I mean, this was the second highest average airspeed has ever done in a wind tunnel. And
excuse me to interrupt, but the draw in Singapore was not a regular draw. It was a limited draw, wasn't it? Limited dive pool, and blocks coming back, or?
No, I don't think so, because in Singapore there's a 16.5-foot wind tunnel. So I think we did everything. But it's 6 years ago, almost 5.5 years ago. So it's a long time ago. But I mean, that lineup, the Airspeed 2012 was a very strong team, and that was a very good average. But I mean, before then and after then, Airspeed never really got above 30.5 average. And I remember even back in the day, breaking a 30, was an accomplishment. But as of late, ever since 2014, 15, 16, the averages have steadily gone up from 30 average to 31 to 32. And now both Wimby and Hayabusa are doing 33 averages, and as your last article pointed out, it's a new 33.2 highest average ever, So averages are going up. Airspeed had a very good competition, and we, it's a couple of things that I know we need to improve. It's just from U.S. Nationals to Montreal, we had we kind of left a lot on the table the first half of the meet at Nationals. We wanted to go to Montreal to kind of just fly with the confidence and the speed we know we can fly with. So I think Montreal was a great success that way, and also averaging above a 30 was very nice. But then we built upon that in the training in between Montreal and Spain, just trying to bust less, but also fly with more confidence and fly with the speed we have. And I feel like even though Hayabusa beat us, the margin is smaller than before. And you can also see we tied them in more rounds, or even beating them in one. So things are coming together more and more. And, progress is definitely happening in the Airspeed camp.
What do you say, Michelle?
I definitely agree with that. And I was talking to him when their competition in Spain was over, and that just the improvement from being in Montreal, where they didn't tie or win any rounds, and here they're half the meet they've either tied or they won one round. So I think that's a huge improvement and huge accomplishment. And I think the Montreal meet, it was full bipolar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have 1 or 13, and we had both in Spain.
Oh, okay. So, but Spain is the same size. It's a 14-foot tunnel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting. I didn't even catch my attention. Okay. Well, it was still a 16-point difference. So how do you I mean, it's less distance compared to Montreal, obviously, and I'm sure you're happy with that too. But even though you're tying more rounds, you won a round, and it's still a 16-point difference. How is that happening?
Well, it's quite easy. I mean, the 3 rounds where we lost the most of the points are with all the randoms. And Hayabusa's random work is obviously, even with their most competitive competitions with Wimby, they're always pulling ahead with random work. So Hayabusa's random work has to be noted and respected. I mean, that's where they shine, And Airspeed has always been a very technical team. Showed at Nationals, on round 7 or 8 the last day. And that's just the difference between the two camps. And we just have to increase our random speed, random efficiency, hands down. Even in Montreal, they beat everyone on that 3 randoms and block 6, And it just happening again. And hey, we just need to get quicker with random work. And that's it. And then round 1, we fell behind a few points. And round 10, we fell behind. But that was more our own flying was a little bit too rough in those rounds. So if we would have flown, that was not really a technical difference between the two teams. It was more like we were not quite flying confidently in round 1, so we suffered there. And round 10, we were trying to go too fast to try finish the meet on a good note, on a strong skydive. But I felt like we pushed it a little bit too far, so it got a little bit too rough. So those we are in control of 100%. So I feel like round 1 or round 10, we could have tied Hayabusa if we would have just been in the right mindset. But the other 3 rounds, I mean, that's a technical improvement. We just have to get better at those. And that's why we have a whole year ahead of us, we have, 8 months to try to get better. And that's what we're doing. We're doing a total of 8 competitions this year, and we're doing a lot of training. So there's no rest in the airspeed camp.
And Hayabusa is attending only 1 or 2, I think it's only 1 outdoor meet, I believe. 1 outdoor meet, I think.
Yeah, so after talking to them, I mean, I can only tell you what they told me. And they are doing the Spain meet, which we just wrapped up. They're doing Bedford. They're doing the Belgium Nationals. And then they are doing the World Championships. They're not doing anything else. And they are, after Australia, they're going to Bahrain to the Indoor World Cup.
Yeah, I guess you do the same, right?
We are doing the XP meet in the end of the month here, going up against Rhythm again. And then after that, the Shamrock Showdown, hopefully going against Rhythm again. And then we're doing Bedford. I don't know if Rhythm is going, but Hayabusa is going to be there, and we're going to bring the best we have. And from there, we're doing the XP Classic outdoor. We're doing a Texas meet. We're doing the U.S. Nationals, and then the World Championships. So, I mean, we have a lot on our plate this year, which is, we have more volume than any other team as far as us and Hayabusa and the French. We have more competitions than the 3 of us. So with all that extra training, hopefully we can catch up. But Hayabusa are the world champions for a reason. You know, they're training hard. They're very talented. And when it comes to training and competing, you can't really compare. We're doing this today or doing that. Every team is doing what they need to do to improve. So the plan is always going to be slightly different, you know. Only your own team is going to know what kind of training you need as far as focus and quantity. So one team might train more, one team might train less, you know. But in the airspeed camp, we need more competitions, and we need to train harder to try to catch up. There's no secret behind that.
You mentioned that Hayabusa is going from Australia to Bahrain. Are you making the same short trip there? Or are you staying over there, or are you going back?
As of right now, we haven't made a decision, but it's doubtful we will, but maybe we will. I mean, as of right now, it's probably a no, but we might reconsider. I don't know. I mean, come the World Championships in Australia, it's been a very long year for us. You know, this project doesn't end in Australia. This project continues for another 2 years.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And I just heard from Hayabusa that they have similar plans. So perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So that being the case, I mean, going to Bahrain, you know, maybe we'll just go back home, rest, and re-gear for 2019 and go to the Indoor World Championships in France. And then we also have the World Cup in apparently at Scottsdale, Arizona in 2019.
Oh, okay. Nick, you mentioned earlier that in round 10, you know, you tried to catch up, you tried to pick up the speed a little bit, went a little bit too fast, and that's why, you know, that's why you lost a few. That kind of situation is waiting for you actually, right? If you want to pick up the speed a little bit, I mean, it always contains the risk of more infringements, or because you're not so used to a new pace if you're picking up the pace. How do you work with that? You're one of the most experienced four-way or competitors at all in history. So you must have a plan. How do you technically and practically increase the speed without messing it up too much?
Well, I mean, in the end of the day, a good skydive is a good skydive, and I don't think you can cut corners. And if you start pushing the pace, you start leaving some of that, the ingredients that are needed for a good skydive to the wayside. And once you start cutting corners, that's when things starts. You start skydiving outside of the plan. So you can push the pace as much as you can, but once you don't make the right random move between points, or you start messing up with grips. So you can push the pace, but new speed, new problems, like an old wise Frenchman used to say. So you have to get comfortable skydiving at a higher pace and make sure that all the pieces to the puzzle still remain. Because if you're not used to a higher speed and you try to push it, you will score less. So, and that just goes to prove around 10 for us, you know, we tried to push the pace, and we had a very good skydive but we started suffering from the 18 to the 1. The 18 to the 1 started building smaller and smaller, and it just got harder and harder to perform the block. So, you know, it's there's no hiding it. You can try to maybe once in a while pushing the pace, but if you push it too far, you might feel like you're going faster, but you're actually not. You're going slower. And you know, it's for us, we can totally feel when that happens. But once you feel it, it's happening. It's already too late. So it's one of those things where you just got to skydive on the verge and not kind of let it go from being a great skydive to kind of start losing control of the skydive. And that's kind of just what happened. But for us, we're pushing the envelope, you know, for what we can do. So I think even those small lessons are important to learn for us right now, because I feel like we could have been competitive within a point with Hayabusa without blowing up that jump, you know. But sometimes you just got to trust that you're fast enough. Sometimes you just got to learn that when you push it, it breaks. And then, you know, the lesson to learn is to just find that sweet spot and keep it there.
So it is in training. It's like walking up a dune. You're making one long step, then you're slipping back a little bit. That's the cleanup. Then you're making another large step to pick it, speed up, and then you're slipping back to clean up again a little. Is it that kind of the progression on that level?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, sometimes Hayabusa had a different engineering for that particular round. They tried to do a piece partner swap on the 1 or the 18, I think, maybe, which is nothing we have in our continuity plan. I mean, the tunnel has that benefit that can open up all sorts of things you can do that you can't do in free fall, you know. And I mean, as far as the speed, to answer that question, I mean, the process is a little bit different depending on what you're looking at, you know. The block work is more technical to improve. A lot of people that push the speed in the block work, they just lose the technicality of the blocks. And then with the randoms, you just got to be very fast in your anticipation and you're flying, you know. And yeah, I mean, flying at the higher speeds, you just got to learn how to fly it. It's just not going all out and go fast. Because, I mean, the faster you go, the bigger the skydive becomes. So you got to be able to shrink the skydive as you try to go faster. So the whole definition of speed becomes redefined on some of the fastest skydives. So every team is a little bit different what they need, you know.
Yeah, so it sounds pretty much the main focus. You're pretty happy with the technical part, and the main focus is on the random sequences, on the faster sequences.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, tightening up the randoms is a little bit easier as far as training versus the block work. And I mean, if you look at our block work, we're very competitive, you know. And if you look at round 10 where we lost, it was on a random. I mean, Hayabusa is extremely good on the random work. And that's not just the speed itself or the fast keys, or that's just the accuracy, their precision from page to page, which is very impressive. So, and sometimes the strength that they have is allowing that efficiency to speed up without compromising it. And when we go faster, we start becoming, we change the size of the skydive. If it becomes too big or too small. And that change as the speed ramps up is what's hurting us. And you just got to learn how to keep the plan as you try to go faster, you know.
Michelle, what is Ranch second generation strong at? The technical part or the random part?
I would say the technical part. Last year, we definitely struggled with random speed and getting into good rhythm with randoms. But this year with Chris on the team, Chris Haslam, our randoms have improved significantly. And I would say Chris's previous team, Midwest Next, they were much stronger on randoms than we were. So having him on our team this year has really benefited us in that manner. So
interesting. One person changing the kind of the nature of the style of the team. Nick, as a coach, what is it for most teams? Is it more difficult for them to get all the technical stuff you know, done and out of the way, or is it more difficult for teams to get the random speed or the fast sequences under control?
Well, I think it's easy to learn the randoms because I mean, on their face, you just move from random whatever A, B, and C. You know, just start flying and start keying. So technically, it's a lot easier to learn the randoms. But I think the harder part with the randoms is you can see this at any kind of competitions. The lower or the mid-level teams have a hard time scoring past maybe what a block dive would score. So that's just the anticipation part, you know. But when
So,
you start coming up to the mid to top tier teams, the randoms are definitely easier to increase the speed. But as you go faster, it's harder to keep the integrity of the block techniques, you know. And that's by far the hardest thing to increase are the blocks. And when people try to force the blocks at a higher speed, they just lose the efficiency. So it appears as though they're going faster, but they're not. Kind of like the same problem we have with the random work a little bit. So, I mean, every team has its own personality a little bit, and all the players on the team make up what they're good or what they're not so good at. And then you just got to train accordingly, you know.
who is? How much is Nick helping you, Michelle? With
I'm doing everything.
Are you the
I'm just kidding.
messenger between Niklas and the team, or do you have a French coach, or how are you working with that?
You know, just Niklas is our only coach. So we've done one camp already with Niklas and Tiago. Next weekend we're going back out to Arizona again for a jumping camp, and then we have the XP indoor meet the following weekend. And then I think we have maybe 2 or 3 more camps scheduled throughout the season with Nick coaching us. And then the rest of the time we're on our own.
Are you training at the ranch?
So what we did last year was we split our season between Skydive Arizona and the ranch. And so we're doing the same thing this year. So the first half of the season, we're making a bunch of trips out to Eloy. And then in the summer, when it's really hot in Arizona, then we're going to jump at the ranch.
Nick, you know the potential of the team. Obviously, you know them from the beginning. How far can they go this year? I mean, are they going to end up right behind the pro teams already this year? I'm kind of hoping for it at least. So.
No, I mean, I don't mean to put any pressure on the team, but they're very talented, you know, and
Yeah.
And what I can see, Chris joining the team, there's a new energy on the team and people are excited, but they also have new issues they didn't have last year. But their performance is already much higher, you know. And it's like, no, I mean, winning sometimes is just like a psychological advantage. Oh, yeah, we won. We're the best in the country. And Chris Haslam has it from the year before. So I feel like the mergers of the two camps, so to speak, I mean, Chris is joining second gen, but he's coming from, you know, the Rhythm Camp and Midwest Next. So, I mean, I think the team is going to be very good at putting the two agendas together. And, I mean, if you ask me, I mean, I feel like they are the future of the sport. But what they do with this year is going to be more on their shoulders. But if you ask me to predict, I'm hoping for 20-plus average in free fall. And and I'm hoping for like in a 25-plus average, maybe in the tunnel, when you're talking about a 14 or 16-foot tunnel, which is different than what they just had in New Hampshire.
Are you going to show this to the world already at the Shamrock, Michelle?
We haven't decided. We're leaning on not going to the Shamrock. So Chris Haslam is a teacher, high school teacher. So he has limited availability through the school season. So we were talking that might be too much travel based on what we already have scheduled, but we'll see how things go next weekend, and then we'll see if we're going to make it down there or not.
Hey, the Canadians drove down from Canada overnight just to be here and make it. Remember that, Nick? Last year they came overnight. They drove from Montreal to from Canada to the Shamrock. Well, we are hoping. We are still hoping. It would be fun to see it. Well, that was a lot of great information. Are we missing something?
No, I don't think so. I'm getting ready to fly back home just to do my laundry so I can then fly to Montreal and coach the Canadian Fusion team.
Fusion, who is that?
Fusion.
Oh, Fusion. Oh, just talking about them.
Fusion. We're just talking about them. Yeah, they have a 4-day camp at the Montreal Wind Tunnel.
Oh, great.
I'm going to be coaching them.
They have a new lineup too, right?
Yeah. Stephanie has joined that team, and they also have I think a long-term plan through the year 2020, the World Championships. So they just kind of rebuilding the team a little bit from the beginning, kind of starting to get the fundamentals in this year, and start to compete more, and then hopefully be on the podium in the 2020 World Championships.
Well, you can move them there, Nick. Good luck.
Yeah.
The burden, the responsibilities on your shoulders.
That's okay. I'm used to it by now.
Okay, Michelle, Nick, thank you very much for taking the time. Good luck with everything, and we see you very soon anyway.
Thank you very much, Kurt.
Thank
Shamrock.
you.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, goodbye.